This is why you drop your goals and how to stop that. Hi there, welcome back to the Flow Lab channel where we discuss psychological science, productivity and flow states. My name is Jonas and I'm co-founder and CEO at Flow Lab, and today we're diving deep into what motivates us and why we tend to drop goals. Many of us are great at setting goals, but not so great at achieving them. Yes, you could try to formulate them differently and set SMART goals or use time management techniques to hold yourself accountable. But what's more important than any of these quick fixes is to take a close look at your motivation. The time where this becomes most obvious is New Year. In a 2020 survey, 55% of the respondents admitted that they kept their New Year's resolutions for less than a year, with 30% of them lasting for only a month or less. But also in the other 11 months of the year, we find ourselves setting goals that we sooner or later drop again. How come that it's so hard to let our intentions and wishes actually become reality and build the habits necessary to reach what we want? One answer lies in our underlying motives. Our motives are the driving forces behind our behavior, and they can differ for everyone. One person feels energized when competing against others. Others feel more energized when working hand in hand with others. According to the motive disposition theory, there are three basic psychological motives: the achievement, the affiliation, and the power motive. People scoring high on the achievement motive want to excel at what they're doing and develop themselves further. They tend to be driven by a strong need for accomplishment and the desire to receive recognition for their efforts. The affiliation motive is all about social connectiveness and bonding. Apart from the fact that we all, of course, need social interactions, these people especially value social harmony and cooperation and want to be accepted by others. Compared to more achievement-oriented people, they, for example, might be less task-oriented and more concerned about relationships at work instead. And finally, the power motive refers to the desire to influence, control, or have an impact on others and their environment. People with a high power motive are motivated to lead, direct, or make a difference in their social and work settings. I know the term power motive may trigger a negative association and make us think of manipulation. And yes, while this can also be a form of a high power motive, it also goes in a pro-social direction. People can help out others by jump-starting their broken down car, guide and support others, or think of someone who is eager to have an impact through volunteering or who loves parenthood. All of those examples can stem from the power motive as well. Quick time out. What do you think? How strong are these three motives manifested within you? Which of the three motivates you the most? Just think about it for a minute, and if you like, write down your answer and we'll come back to it later. Each of these motives works in two directions. They can either make us approach something we desire or avoid something we don't. Psychologists call that approach or avoidance motivation. Do you feel more driven when thinking about the excitement when accomplishing a long hoped for goal, a hope for success, or the fear of feeling incompetent and experiencing setbacks, fear of failure? Do you focus on strengthening your relationships, hope for closeness, or rather act out anxiety to be rejected by others, fear of rejection? Do you hope to pick up the reins and have an impact, the hope of power, or are you more afraid to feel inferior compared to others, fear of weakness? In the context of your goals, you could, for example, ask yourself, do you focus more on eating less sweets or on exploring more wholesome food? It's a small difference in the wording, but can influence what you focus on during the implementation tremendously. Think about it. When having the goal to eat less sweets, you might always feel the craving to check the shelf with your favorite snacks and struggle to stay persistent. But when focusing more on eating wholesome food, you might actively look up recipes you want to cook or try out vegetables you usually don't cook with. You're approaching what you want rather than running away from what you don't want. The result may be the same. You eat less sweets and eat healthier, but the journey and the experience along the way are different. Now, there's something else that is crucial when formulating your goals, because what we think we want does not always match what we actually want. Researchers differentiate between implicit and explicit motives. Implicit motives are presumably learned based on affective experiences very early in childhood, often before we learn to speak, and rooted in older parts of the brain such as the amygdala. They are often subconscious and work primarily on an emotional level, which makes it more difficult for us to put them into words. This also means that they can be aroused when anticipating pleasurable or rewarding emotions, even without us noticing it. Our explicit motives, on the other hand, are learned over the course of life, beginning in middle childhood, and form a part of our self-concept. We take into account social norms, demands, expectations of others, as well as rewards or punishments. Contrary to our implicit motives, explicit motives are rather based on cognitive decisions and verbal interactions with others. We might think we want to have a prestigious job, although social connections are much more important to us. When there's such a mismatch between our explicit and implicit motives, we can observe less emotional and psychological well-being. Less life satisfaction, less motivation, performance, and also less flow. So the main takeaway is that your goals should match your implicit motives. So how can you become aware of these implicit motives then? Psychologists believe that mental imagery can raise your implicit motives to a conscious level and bring both explicit and implicit motives closer together. These images work just like your implicit motives on an emotional level, without the need to translate them into specific words or symbols. Apparently, thinking about emotionally charged situations in image-like ways shows more activity in the brain areas associated with emotional processing than thinking about them in a more abstract, rational way. You could, for example, take some time for a mental imagery and recall a past situation that felt fulfilling. Picture it in as much detail as possible. Recall your feelings and the sensations in your body, and maybe you remember what it was that created these intense feelings. A feeling of togetherness, of progress and success, or of control and impact. This is of course easier said than done, but we've got you covered with our flow session Beneath the Surface. It will guide you through this mental imagery exercise and help you become aware of your implicit motives. Check it out in the training area of Drive in the FlowLab app. And then it can be very interesting to compare what you discovered during that mental imagery with the answer you wrote down earlier when I asked you to reflect on how strong the three motives are manifested within you. Does your written down answer, your explicit motives, align with your implicit motives? Okay, and then once you've identified your implicit motives, think about your current goals. How can you either change the goal or adapt the approach in a way that it matches your implicit motives? If you want to become fitter, you could join a sports group if you have a strong affiliation motive, or sign up for a sports competition if you have a strong need for achievement. If you want to live more sustainably, you could volunteer for a project that cleans the environment if you have a high power motive, or challenge yourself with a 30-day no plastic challenge with a high achievement motive. These are just a few examples, but you get the idea. So, as you can see here, there's much more behind our goal pursuit than simply self-control or good time management. Let us know which goal you're currently pursuing in the comments below. And if you find this video helpful, it would be amazing if you could give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the FlowLab channel and hit the bell to get notified when we upload new videos. Thank you so much for your support, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.